All right, we'll get started here. We'd like to welcome Billy Horschel to the interview room at the Honda Classic. Billy's making his seventh start of the season. So, Billy, if we could just get an opening comment on being back at the Honda Classic and the state of your game at this point.
It's always nice to come back to the Honda. I've played here, I think, 10 times, my 11th year playing. I grew up not far from here, 90 miles up the road. Being born and raised in the state of Florida, it's one of those things where you want to play at Florida events. You want to represent your state. You want to represent, where you're born and raised and hopefully play well. It's no different than anybody who, from Texas or California or even, like John Rahm playing the Spanish Open, representing his country when they have tournaments over there. So, I make it a priority to make these Florida events a big deal. I haven't won one in my career. I haven't won in the state of Florida before. So that's the one thing I want to check off before, my time's done on the PGA Tour. State of the game, it's been a slow start to the year. It hasn't been the way I wanted. Todd Anderson and I, we're always trying to make improvements and get better in the game of golf, as everyone is. We made some changes this off season to try and do that. And at home, it's been really good, and on the range and in practice, it's been really good. It just hasn't translated to the course, and so this past week we sort of abandoned what we've been doing the last couple of months, realizing it was more of an effort and it wasn't as easy to do. So went back to some of the older stuff, and what's nice is some of the stuff that we were trying to fix that we did, going to, what we were trying to do this past off season has sort of translated into going back to the old swing. So my tendency has always been to move off the ball with upper half, and we've been always trying to stay centered a little bit more, and that's why we made some of the changes in the swing we did. And then just going back to an old setup and a few other things, it's my upper half stayed centered because of what we've done. So it's nothing new. It's just in the game of golf, you're always trying to make improvements, trying to get better, and sometimes you got to take chances and understand you may fail sometimes, and we failed, and we're back to what we've been doing, majority of last year and end of 21. So it's been nice to see some better golf shots, and it's been a little bit easier to make the golf swing this week than it has been, last few weeks.
All right, we'll take some questions out here. If you have a question, we'll get a microphone to you. We got one. We'll start in the back there. Okay, yeah, Tim, go ahead.
That's fine.
He doesn't have a microphone.
Oh.
You go ahead.
I didn't want this to be the first one, but I'll take it anyway. Billy, Tiger and Rory had the groundbreaking yesterday over at Palm Beach College, and I'm just curious, what appealed to you about the whole TGO concept?
Yeah, it was pretty. It's pretty amazing to see, the groundbreaking, where it's going to be here in a great golf fanatic area. When it came to me last summer, when we had meetings last summer talking about it, I thought it was pretty cool in the sense that it was off the golf course. It's something different than what we're normally used to seeing. It's in a 2-hour window, so it's very fast and easy. It's on a simulator, so a lot of people are practicing on simulators, whether they have them in their own home or whether their golf club up in the Northeast or somewhere else where the weather's not as nice. They're hitting the simulator. So it's a really cool concept. I think the concept of, having it be live betting there, and it's in a small arena, small teams, little sweet competitions over, 3 months. I think it's just something different than the game of golf, and I'm excited about it. I think when we look at trying to get people into the game of golf, and I heard someone talk about this the other day, it's a little daunting sometimes to go out to the driving range, to go out to the golf course and know all the etiquettes and know all the rules and know everything. It's a little daunting sometimes. And so I think that's why Top Golf has been so successful. People going to Top Golf, having some drinks, having some food with their friends, hitting the golf ball, doing it in a fun, relaxing atmosphere. Instead of a golf course that can be, as we all know, can be sort of scary at times. And so I think this concept is just adding on to that of another way to hopefully get reach a different generation, reach the different fans of the game of golf, and hopefully get them into the game of golf.
And speaking of how the golf course can be scary, this one out here is not particularly
This
easy.
one's not easy. It never is.
Yet it's never scared you off, and I know it is a challenge with the schedule. Why have you been so committed to it, other than just the allure of being close to home and obviously your Florida ties? Is there something else that keeps bringing you back?
Yeah, when I look at my schedule every year, I pick the tournaments I play. The first criteria is the golf course. Do I like the golf course? Do I enjoy playing the golf course? Is it something that fits my game? Is it something that gives me an advantage over everybody else? And this is the golf course that is right there. Fits my game. I like challenging golf course. I like that you've got to hit the ball solid. You've got to control your golf ball. You can't get away with hitting offline, or you get penalized here. It fits right into the way I've always loved playing the game of golf. Yes, I understand. You could be playing really well and just make one little bit of mistake and make a big number and sort of shoot yourself out of a tournament, or even wind up missing a cut. So it is a challenge. It is a mental challenge. But I've been playing this golf course since my junior days when we had the Optimist International down here. I've always enjoyed loving coming down here. So first and foremost, it's the golf course that attracts me. But then you think about the fans, a big support for Gator Nation here. Ken Kennelly, his staff has been unbelievable to me, and just the way the tournament's run is awesome. So there's so many different things that lends itself to being such a great event that's why I continue to keep coming back.
In the back, and then Tom.
Shane Lowry was saying he's playing, I think, 7 straight weeks. He's playing these 5, the 2 elevated this, and the 2 more after this. Do you sort of have a similar grinding mentality where you don't have to circle a tournament like this as a rest week leading into Bay Hill and the Players?
Yeah, I mean, my schedule's been pretty much the same for the last X amount of years. If you look at this year, I think, I didn't play Farmers, played LA because of the status and everything. It can be a grind. Playing 5 weeks in a row can be a grind. Playing 7 weeks in a row can be a grind. Playing these golf courses here, especially in the state of Florida, that we play, can be a little bit of a grind. But I think if you go about it the right way, you manage your energy levels, then I think the rest sort of takes care of itself a little bit. As long as you don't get sick like I've been the last 2 weeks, it's been a little bit of a challenge. And finally, I decided to go into the doctor yesterday. My wife was very proud of me to go see a doctor and get medication. Yeah, I mean, not a lot of guys like to play 5 weeks in a row. Shane playing 7 weeks is really unheard of, especially from a top player. But I think if you get on a good momentum, you get on a good roll, the game, can be pretty, I can't say easy, but those weeks go by quicker. You're not always grinding away with it if your game's in a good spot and you're playing well.
Tom?
Billy, did you play the course
I did.
Shane said something like, is the rough a little bit more forgiving than it's been in the past?
Yeah, the rough is a lot more forgiving than it has been in the past. I'm guessing it's sort of similar like we had at TPC Summerlin out in Phoenix Open this year. They cut the rough down to about 2 inches instead of 3.5 inches that it was a year before. They wanted, more flyers out of the rough, and I think sometimes it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. Sometimes you're trying to get flyers and the ball really doesn't fly. This week it is because there is a lot of Bermuda in the rough. The ryegrass overseed isn't nearly as strong as it normally is, so you will see some flyers. But, I think it is more playable. Sometimes I go back and forth. Do I want to see longer rough, be more penalized if you miss a fairway versus if you don't? Maybe this is one of those weeks where it's nice that it's a little shorter than it has been in the past.
Also, did you go back to what you were doing before or after LA and use the weekend in the last couple of days? As you were talking about how you kind of scrapped is that when you decided to scrap everything, or was it before LA?
We sort of scrapped the Thursday night of LA. We, talking with TA, so we just try to get back into a little bit of a similar posture we were for majority of all last year. And so really we're just looking back at swings of 2013 and 2014, trying to get back to that. Felt a little bit better on Friday, and then the weekend I didn't do anything. I was at my daughter's cheerleading competition, so first one I've ever been to. That was an eye-opening experience. And then Todd and I got to work on Monday, and really within 15, 20 minutes, it was, I can't say it's automatic, but it was very similar and very comfortable with what I needed to do for the rest of the week. Now it's just more or less getting the reps and feeling more comfortable with what we're trying to do.
Rex?
Billy, you seem to be a player that pays attention to what's going on in golf a little bit more than maybe others. How aware are you of the current lawsuit and your understanding of where the tour is and where LIV is and those proceedings?
Yeah, I have been aware of it probably more last year than it has this year. I know something happened this week where I think Saudi Arabia was trying to, say they were sovereign immunity and they didn't have to, do a deposition and do all that. And I've realized that that was their claim was dismissed, so now they're going to have to supposedly do a deposition. Whether they really do or not, it's a different story. But yeah, I'm not very up to date on everything. I know there's a lawsuit over in the UK. I don't think that's been decided on. I know that's started over in Phoenix Week, so it's been 2 weeks now of that, I guess, going on, and I think that's going to be a big ruling. And the way things play out, I think if LIV Golf loses that, I would be hard pressed to see them winning this lawsuit here in the U.S. Whether they continue to go on forward with that, if they lost that one in the UK, would be an interesting play. But it'll all play out the way it's supposed to. I think I've come to the realization, and I've always been at this realization that I think I said in Scotland, I have no problem with competition. I think competition makes people play better. I think it makes businesses, improve what they do. I think, as we've seen, because of LIV, the PGA Tour has finally made changes to their product model, and what's going to come in 24 is going to be really exciting, I think, for not only the players, but for the golf fans and for the sponsors and partners of the PGA Tour. So I'm fine with LIV doing their thing and PGA Tour doing their thing, and let's compete at it, and let's see who's going to be the best at it. I'm pretty confident in the PGA Tour product model and the players that we have, that we're going to always be on top no matter what happens.
Question in the back.
Hey, Billy, I've heard you mention, I just got a couple here. I heard you mention a few times over the past few weeks, including when I came running back in here like a maniac with my camera. Don't know how much you expanded on it, but winning in Florida, can you just in your own words explain to us just why that's such a special point of emphasis for you and why you want to get that done?
The state of Florida is very similar to me and an international player representing their country. I'm born and raised here. My family's been here since the 1920s, so very few people have roots that are 100 years plus in the state of Florida. I've always loved the state. I've always loved the people of the state. I've always loved the people who've moved to the state. I think Florida's such a beautiful state with so many different cultures and different people in here. And, I say I wear the colors. I'm a proud Floridian. And I haven't won in the state of Florida at the amateur level, at the college level, at the professional level. So it'll be nice that when that does finally happen, to finally say I've won in the state of Florida. There's so many great events, whether it's Honda, Bay Hill Players, Valspar. I'll take either one of them. Whichever one wants to come sooner would be nice. But yeah, I just think it's sort of the pride I have for the state of Florida is no different than the pride that someone would have for their country, in the sense of an international player.
And speaking of the Honda, obviously this is the last Honda Classic under that name. I know you've missed very few. What are your thoughts about the future of this event? I know, obviously they're looking for another sponsor, but do you hope it stays here? How special do you think this stop is?
Yeah, it's sad to see the Honda go. The longest sponsorship of a PGA Tour event, 42 years, I believe. It's disappointing on many aspects of it. I'm sort of disappointed in the PGA Tour in the sense that I'm not going to say they didn't prioritize the Honda Classic. They prioritize every sponsor that we have. It's always tough when you've got 47 different sponsors on the PGA Tour, and you have X amount of partners on the PGA Tour to always please every one of them. But when I was out on tour early in my career, this was a hot event. I mean, you had top 20 players in the world playing here. This was an event to play at. And then unfortunately over the years it's sort of been relegated to not as strong of a field anymore. That due to many different reasons, scheduling being the biggest thing where the tournament fell. But speaking with the PGA Tour and emphasizing that we need to make sure that we keep a foothold down in South Florida. We used to have 2 tournaments down in South Florida here and at Doral. Now we only have 1. We're not going to lose this one. I've been told that we're going to stay here. Now we just got to find who that sponsor is going to be for their future. And at the same time, we need to make sure that the date itself is in a better spot. I mean, you got 30 to 40 PGA Tour pros that live within a couple miles of this place, and I think you've only got a handful of them playing this week, and that's disappointing. It really is. So the tour needs to understand that when you have 40 guys here that could hop in their car, stay in their bed, hop in their car, and drive 10, 15 minutes to a tournament, they need to make sure that they're putting this in the right spot so they get all those top players here playing here on a regular basis. So, like I said, PGA Tour has I can't speak too much in depth on it, but they've guaranteed me that we're going to be here, and I'm excited about that.
Chris?
Billy, they announced the mixed team event down in Naples. You've played with Lexi, or in the same group with Lexi. Just sort of your thoughts on men and women getting back together again like they did at the old JCPenney.
I think it's really cool. Sorry, my voice is raspy, and like I said, I'm dealing with a sinus infection. I think it's really cool. It really is. I think it's something that's been talked about for, a handful of years, and it was just a matter of time until, something was done about it. I think it's awesome that we're playing Tiburon. The LPGA, finales held there every year. We played there, obviously, in the QBE shootout the last several years, or for many years now. And now it's going to become a mixed team event. I think it's going to be awesome to get the men and women together. I was talking to Andrea Lee the week after QBE. Actually, we were doing a photo shoot together for Ralph Lauren, and I sort of said, it'd be pretty cool if maybe we play together. Ralph Lauren sponsor, ambassadors, and we can wear similar outfits together. I'm not really big on wearing similar outfits and matching anybody ever, but in that aspect, it would be really cool with Andrea to do that. So sorry.
It's okay. Tiger's phone rang during his press conference last week.
So yeah, I think it'd be really cool that's going to happen. I think it's going to be great with the fans, and I think the LPGA product right now is really strong. You've seen the growth they've had over the last several years. Mike Wan did an unbelievable job at the LPGA Tour, and I think talking with a lot of girls are sad that he left, but he left in a good spot, and now it's on to, I believe, Molly, who's the commissioner, to continue to grow that product, because, like I said, they've got an unbelievable product. I watch a lot of golf. I've talked about it regularly, how much golf I watch. And I watch LPGA, I watch European Tour, I watch Champions Tour. So I watch a lot of LPGA Tour coverage, and they've got some impressive girls out there playing right now.
Any other questions? All right, Billy, thank you very, very much for your time, and best of luck this week.
Thank you.
I encourage you guys to stick around for the presentation of the Tim Rosafort Distinguished Journalist Award.
Yeah, we'll be getting started in about 5 minutes.